Good morning, Gertens gardeners, and happy holidays. Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, and a joyous Kwanzaa to all of you celebrating out in Gertens Gardener land this December. And I'm coming to you with a very special presentation. Mikey, I hope you're watching this video because today we're looking at what does Karen or what does a rosarian want for Christmas? If you have roses, you have probably a long wish list of things to help you take care of your roses. And we're going to go over some of my absolute favorites today. For those of you who are serious rose lovers, rosarians, hobbyists, professionals, pretty much everybody in the biz uses Felco as their main pruning brand. And we have some amazing brands. So let me tell you, if you go with a different brand, I'm not going to tell you no. We have some amazing stuff by a lot of our other brands as well. I love Felco's products. They last forever. They have replaceable parts so that when something rusts, you can change it out. You can sharpen them. This is not something you use for a year and you throw it away. This is a lifetime investment pruning product. And if you read the rose forums or if you talk to professional rose growers and rosarians, they're going to tell you that you need a Felco bypass pruner. This is tool number one in pretty much every professional's work belt. This is a Felco pruner. This is the size I use at home. And really you want to size the pruner for your hands. So I'm going to take it out of its case here. And you can see how easily that fits in my hand. This is a number 2, and number 2 is a pretty standard size for Felcos. Doesn't always open smooth, but you can see nice bypass action here. Dual size blade, and the reason we call it a bypass pruner, you can see on this side of the pruner how this blade passes by this blade, right? So that's a nice clean bypass action, and what that does is it helps prevent damage while you are pruning. If you're using a scissor pruner, you can often crush the cane on a rose. If you're using a scissor pruner, you don't want to use a scissor pruner. Always use a bypass. So this is a great investment product. I always keep the safety on. Always use it with a sheath. So this is our Felco sheath right here. I love my sheath, and I tend to be that person who will just stick things in a pocket, and I don't want to whack myself or cause injuries to myself. So make sure that whenever you're using pruner tools, you have a sheath for your pruner. So those of you thoughtful gift givers, get a sheath for their Felco. If they don't have that at home, it's a really easy kind of stocking stuffery gift. What better Christmas gift than safety for your loved one? As your roses get older and larger, like many of mine are, you're probably going to need a couple of extra tools come spring pruning time. And this is also a bypass pruner, but this is a lopper. So unlike our hand bypass, this is going to be a two-handed tool. You can see they've got a picture of an orchard over here because this is for larger branches, small trees. I do a lot of work on my older roses with loppers because I'm going down into the base of my rose. I don't want to get my hands in there. I don't want to get all scratched up even with gloves on. And you're just going to go in and you're going to get into the base of your tree or even at the top of your rose, and you're going to lop with two-handed action. So this works really good, not just for your older roses, but any tree pruning you need to do this winter. If you're looking at pruning any of your trees, not your evergreens, but your deciduous trees, you need to do that during the winter. Get your loved one a lopper. Finally, for those really hard to manage pruning jobs, this is a fold-out knife. This is a pruning saw. And this works really, really good when you have to get really in somewhere and take out an old branch that maybe the diameter is too big even for your lopper to do comfortably, because really with a lopper you want one cut and you're done. If you can't push those two blades together and take that cane off or that branch off with just one fell swoop, you're really going to start to injure your plant. So that's when you move to a saw. It also works really good for roots. So if you're trying to get up an old plant out of the soil this spring and you run into a root that your shovel can't get, these guys are amazing. I love my folding pruning saw. This is my best friend come springtime. All of the benefits that Felco offers, which is replaceable blades, sharpenable blades, although it's a little bit more tricky because this is serrated. Really good, hard quality handles. They just make beautiful tools. And yes, of course, it's an investment. This is not a cheap folding saw. This is not a $15 tool, but this is an investment that you are going to have basically for the rest of the life of that gardener. Now let's talk a little bit about some other non-pruning tools. These are by DeWitt. These are hand forged. There's just nothing like this steel. This is just, what a gorgeous line of tools. Beautiful handles, which are very ergonomic. They're incredibly easy to handle. They have a great balance to them. So it's not too heavy, it's not too light, it just has a really nice hand to it. The cultivator you can use for several purposes, especially in the springtime, getting all those weeds out of your soil, whether it's your veggie garden, under your roses, because you can kind of get in without really getting scratched. It's also really good for lightening up the soil a little bit. You can aerate your soil a little bit under your roses. You don't want to mess with it too much because often you have a lot of root kind of close to the surface. So you don't want to break up your root ball too much. This is really nice to kind of loosen the soil and also just scratch in your fertilizer. And we'll talk about my favorite fertilizer here in a second. But lots of things a cultivator can do for you. Also, if you're going to plant your veggie garden, a nice little seed row maker, right? This is kind of like the default spade. It has a nice sharp edge to it, which will cut through most small roots. Get out those rocks, anything that you need to put, whether you're putting in your perennials, your smaller perennials, your bedding plants, baby roses. I have 2 of these at home and I love them. And sometimes I put one in the yard and forget about it, so then I have a backup. And again, that wooden handle is such a nice balance. You really can get in the dirt and you don't have to worry about it busting off. Maybe the soil's heavy or I've hit a rock or what have you, and my trowel comes off at the handle, or the handle breaks or splits or something. That is not going to happen with a DeWitt. Those of you who have heard me talk before know that unequivocally, this is my favorite fertilizer for roses here in Minnesota. This is Rose Tone by Espoma. I use a handful of it under each rose in the spring as the roses are waking up and I'm starting my pruning. I am pruning as the roses are waking up. I am feeding as the roses are waking up. As soon as you see yellow forsythia blooms, it's time to get out into the garden, prune, and feed. There is no safer food than this. This is an organic meal, so it is a granular feed. It is a slow release, so it's very gentle on younger plants, and it's safe to have around your family. So if you have dogs that like to nose in things, if you have small children in your garden, you can put this down and not worry about them touching it, playing with it, getting it on their hands. It's not going to hurt anybody. My roses respond beautifully to this. They really cannot get enough. And so do all the perennials around them. I don't plant just one rose bed with just roses in them. I have lots of perennials surrounding them, and everybody loves the rose tones. If it is blooming and it is a shrub, put rose tone under it. Now, I grabbed alfalfa meal because sometimes your new roses especially might need like an extra little bit of love. In roseland in general, lots of folks love to use alfalfa meal, whether they make it as a tea and water it in that way, or if they just apply it directly to the soil. This can give, especially younger roses or roses that are having a small amount of nutrient issue, a little gentle boost without you throwing the pH of your soil off. So a lot of times folks will be like, oh, Karen, can't I use Epsom salt? Or can't I use this, that, or the other thing? And the problem with a lot of that stuff is that, especially with Epsom salt, that's magnesium, right? It's just a magnesium salt. That's what Epsom salts are. They're magnesium. What do we not want in our groundwater? Extra chemicals, extra salts. So please don't add magnesium unless you do a soil test and it says you need magnesium. If you want to give your roses a little boost, this is a much, much safer option. Alfalfa meal is very gentle. It has a little bit of nitrogen, a little bit of phosphate and potash. This is a great little application, and you're just going to sprinkle it in either during planting for a new rose, or you can put a little bit as a top dressing for an established rose if you just want to give it a little extra boost, but it doesn't need more rose tone because you've already applied the rose tone. If you are the kind of person who likes to love on their roses, just that extra little bit, go with alfalfa meal. This is a trooper. This is a great shovel. So you can see it's a long handle. And why do I suggest long handle instead of a short handle? Because you can really get into the soil with a long handle. You can put a lot of force down in. When you're trying to move big clumps of perennials, like say, one of my favorite rose companions is Siberian iris, which are beautiful, but they get kind of weird as they get older. They get kind of like in weird rings, and those roots are like concrete. It is so hard to get through them. You really want to be able to jam a shovel down into that root ball to separate them out. Trooper has this amazing tread on the top of the shovel that's going to hook in with the tread on your shoe, so you can really get a hold and jump on that shovel without twisting your ankle. So Quick story, Karen twisted her ankle once using a bad shovel trying to get into her iris. Okay, this happens. Get yourself a good shovel. Don't twist your ankle. Be careful. And really use something that you can put a lot of force into without hurting yourself and still being able to do the work that you need to do in your garden. Trooper's got it all. This is a great, great shovel. And finally, of course, what better gift to give a rose lover than a new rose, right? Come and see me if you need a list of recommendations. I have so many favorites out on the lot to choose from. Maybe you want to put some height on the east side of your house. Pick Above and Beyond. It's apricot colored. It smells amazing. It has great autumn color. How about something to put next to your sidewalk? Maybe you need just a tiny pop of color. What about Popcorn Drift? What a lovely little rose. Yellow and pink and white and fragrant. Or are you looking for really, really good autumn color? How about Cherry Frost? 6 feet tall, beautiful, gorgeous shrub. Use it instead of a viburnum in a semi-shady location. You have bright red flowers. You have the most obscenely gorgeous autumn color that you could possibly ask for. Come and buy your loved one a rose. Give them a gift card and encourage them to come back in May and especially in June when the craziness has subsided a little bit. The roses are in bloom. And it is amazing looking out there in the corner. And come see me or come see any member of the nursery staff for recommendations. Have a wonderful holiday, Gertens gardeners. And thank you so much for your patronage in 2023. We look forward to seeing you in 2024.